If you are someone that's looking to gain muscle without getting fat, this is the exact method that you need to follow. And it starts by looking at the 12 to 15 rule. But before we come on to what those numbers actually mean, the first thing that I want you to do is take a look in the mirror and actually decide whether, number one, you have abdominals, you can see them when you look down at your physique, or number two, you don't have abdominals. You are holding a significant amount of body fat, which prevents you from seeing them. The next thing I want you to do is go and find out your body weight. Grab some scales and weigh yourself in pounds, because once you have your body weight, you're then going to decide whether you use the number 12 or 15. Now, I've given you two examples on today's video. Number one, when I was 170 pounds lean, you could see my abdominals having completed a photo shoot, and the other, when I was 200 pounds plus, I was holding a ton of body fat. But here's what you're going to do. If you have abdominals, you are going to take your body weight in pounds and multiply it by 15. And that's going to give you the number of calories that you need to consume every single day for the next 2 weeks. So if I was still 170 pounds, I would consume 2,550 calories every single day. That's going to allow us to indicate whether you are gaining weight, losing weight, or even maintaining weight. And we'll come on to whether you make changes and how you make those changes if your scale weight moves up, down, or even stays the same. If you can't see your abdominals and you are a heavier body weight, well, you're going to multiply that number by 12. So your body weight in pounds multiplied by 12. And that's going to give you the number that you're going to be consuming for the next 2 weeks. The example, I'm 200 pounds, therefore I'll be consuming 2,400 calories every single day. If you are losing weight, you want to add 10% to your overall calorie intake. So if I was 170 pounds, I would add roughly 255 calories on top of what I'm already eating. So 2,550 plus 255 calories. If you are gaining weight, you're going to subtract 10% from your overall calorie intake. So once again, if I was 170 pounds, I would be consuming 2,550 calories, and then I'd subtract 255 calories from my overall intake. But here's where it gets interesting, and it's super important that you do this one thing. You need to be tracking your food consistently. That means eating the same meals every single day for the next 2 weeks. Because if you allow variation to come into your dietary meal plan, well, of course, your scale weight's going to move up, it's going to move down, and you're not going to have the most accurate measurements. For example, if you were to have a steak at a restaurant, the way that they actually prepare that steak and any added oils that they would use in the cooking process is going to be completely different to how you prepare your steak at home. So that's going to affect your overall scale weight, and it's going to affect the number of calories that you're consuming on a daily basis. You also need to be eating the same macronutrients consistently. Carbohydrates, proteins, and fats have a variety of different functions within the human body, and if you are ultimately eating a high protein diet, well, protein's highly thermogenic, and it actually takes a lot of energy to digest it, process it, and metabolize it. Therefore, your body composition will significantly change on a high protein diet compared to having lower protein, higher carbohydrates, because carbs can actually pull water intracellularly. For every 1 gram of carbohydrate you consume, we store around 3 to 4 grams of water. But that's not to say that you should just solely focus on protein. You should be incorporating a balanced mix of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. The next thing that we want to consider is how aggressive you are going to be and the approach that you're going to take to build muscle. Now, taking a look at the graph, on the left-hand side, we have your maintenance calories. Your body weight will neither increase or decrease. And as we start to move up that scale, you are increasing the opportunity that you have to build muscle, but also put on body fat. All the way on the right, I've given you a key. X is the amount of muscle that you would hypothetically build, and Y is the amount of body fat that you're going to be putting on. If we move all the way to the left, 100-calorie surplus, so 100 calories above your maintenance. You may put on 2 pounds in your overall scale weight, and the ratio of muscle to fat gain is 90-10. Therefore, 90% of the time, you are going to put on muscle, and 10% of the time, you are going to put on body fat. And it's a very, very slow process, but this is how you build a lean physique. As you start to move up that scale, a 300-calorie surplus would mean that 70% of the time, you are going to build muscle, whereas 30% of the time, you are going to put on body fat. And your overall scale weight may fluctuate and move towards a 5-pound increase. And then finally, if you are in a 500-calorie surplus, so 500 calories above your maintenance, your overall scale weight may move towards 8 pounds above what it was. However, the ratio of muscle to fat gain is 50-50. Therefore, 50% of the time you're going to put on muscle, but the trade-off is that you're going to put on 50% body fat as well. Now, if we break that down step by step, for a lot of guys, they think that eating more, dirty bulking, or eating more calories is going to help them to build more muscle. And that's not strictly true. For example, if you were in that 500-calorie surplus where your total scale weight may fluctuate roughly 8 pounds, and 4 of those pounds are going to be body fat, 4 of those pounds are going to be muscle. Whereas if you are in a 300-calorie surplus, you may have a scale weight change of 5 pounds, and 3.5 pounds are going to be muscle. And we can actually see that there's only half a pound of muscle difference between a 500-calorie surplus and a 300-calorie surplus. Whereas if you just eat slightly above maintenance, 100 calories, well, your scale weight's going to move by 2 pounds, but the trade-off is that you are going to build 1.8 pounds of muscle. So theoretically, it will take you longer to build muscle over time, but you also have to remember that if you do choose to increase the number of calories that you are consuming above 100, if it's 300, if it's 500, if it's 700, later on, you're going to have to strip all of that body fat away. Therefore, you need to weigh up the pros and the cons, and you also need to weigh up your own individual goals. If you want to build a lean, athletic physique, I would opt for a slight surplus above your maintenance calories, whereas if you're looking to get strong and you are looking to build muscle, you're a powerlifter or you are a strongman, well, 300 calories or 500 calories above your maintenance is going to be the preferred option. But just taking a look at the differences there, to be honest, only half a pound of muscle between the 500 calorie surplus and the 300 calorie surplus. If I was to pick one, because I have done all three over the last 10 years that I have been lifting, it would now be the 1.8 pound of muscle gain. Finally, we need to look at calorie partitioning, because every single macronutrient from carbohydrates, proteins, and fats will have a total effect on thermogenesis, the thermic effect of food. For example, if I was to have 100 calories of protein, well, my body is actually only going to use 70 calories because protein is highly thermogenic. It takes a lot of energy to digest it, to process it, to metabolize it. Therefore, if I'm in a calorie surplus and I'm consuming that 100 calories, I'm only actually absorbing 70 at any time. Therefore, the cost is 30% to digest. Looking at carbohydrates, if I was to consume 100 calories of carbohydrate, well, my body will actually use 90 calories. Therefore, the cost is 10% to digest that macronutrient. And then finally, if we look at the macronutrient fat, we would use 98 calories of our total 100 calories within that macronutrient because the body is very, very efficient at digesting, processing, metabolizing, and shuttling fats around the body. Therefore, the cost is only 2% of that macronutrient if we wanted to use it for particular functions within the body. Overall, the number of calories that you consume and where those calories are partitioned between protein, carbohydrate, and fat do matter when you're trying to gain muscle. I would aim for 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, and then I'd work out my carbohydrates and fats once I've determined how many calories are being put towards muscle building. But protein isn't the only macronutrient to help you build muscle. Carbohydrates and fats also contribute towards that. If you enjoyed this type of content, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.